What's good, YouTube? It's your boy, Blue Blood Sports TV, back at y'all with another one. So, former multi-division world champion, retired, soon-to-be Hall of Famer turned colorful boxing analyst for ESPN and Top Rank, Timothy Desert Storm Bradley. He weighs in on Ryan Garcia, targeting Ryan Garcia's undefeated lightweight Mexican superstar title contender. He weighs in on Ryan Garcia targeting 8 division world champion, legendary, iconic Filipino superstar boxer Manny Pac-Man Pacquiao. And he says that Ryan Garcia is doing a lot of barking on social media when it comes to the guys in his own weight class. He says that he has the opportunity to fight big fights in his own weight class and build up his profile. He's only 22 years of age. He's only had one significant fight in his career. That was against Olympic gold medalist, British superstar, lightweight title contender himself, Luke Campbell, in his last fight, in which he was floored in the second round, got up off the canvas, and he stopped Luke Campbell in the seventh round. With that said, Timothy Bradley is stating that Ryan Garcia should be focusing on fighting the likes of undefeated WBC lightweight world champion superstar boxer Devin the Dream Haney, or unified WBA, IBF, WBO, Ring Magazine, WBC franchise lightweight superstar world champion Teofimo Lopez, or the likes of the guy he's been calling out for quite some time, an undefeated 2 division world champion who simultaneously holds the WBA at 130 and 135, Gervonta Tank Davis. Ryan Garcia, after his fight with Luke Campbell, prior to his fight with Luke Campbell, he was letting anybody who would give him the opportunity to know that he wanted to fight Gervonta Tank Davis in his next fight after Luke Campbell, and that he would gladly knock out Gervonta Tank Davis within 2 rounds. With that said, his focus has switched to Manny Pacquiao, and Timothy Bradley doesn't understand why that's his focus, and he doesn't understand why Manny Pacquiao is accepting the fight or even showing any type of interest in fighting Ryan Garcia, because he's already a legend. He's already very, very established. And Timothy Bradley is stating that Ryan Garcia will get knocked out brutally by Manny Pacquiao should they face off against one another. So with that said, Timothy Bradley is stating that Ryan Garcia needs to use all of the barking that he's doing. He needs to focus that in on the guys in and around his weight class. Okay, the Gervonta Tank Davis, Devin Haney, Teofimo Lopez. He needs to focus in on those guys. He even has Shakur Stevenson, former featherweight world champion, who is now 130 pounder. We also have Christopher Colbert. There's a lot of fighters in and around Ryan Garcia weight class that he needs to focus in on. And he says that nobody knows who Ryan Garcia is outside of teenagers, and most of them are young teenage girls. He stated that, if he go to his local clerk, nobody would know who Ryan Garcia is. He says that he needs to build his profile, and that's what's wrong with the generation. Everybody's talking about their social media following opposed to what they actually done in the ring. Let's just listen to what Timothy Bradley had to say.
Well, I got my numbers, and that's all you hear, my numbers, and, oh, look at these ratings and all this stuff. And I'm like, dude, okay, cool. I hear you. It's a pandemic. Great. You have great numbers. But, if I go down to my local grocery store and I ask the clerk, do you know who Ryan Garcia is? She gonna say no.
So you heard what he said. He said that if I go down to my local clerk and ask them, do they know who Ryan Garcia is, they're going to say no. Nobody knows who Ryan Garcia is. So essentially, he's saying that Ryan Garcia truly, truly needs to build up his profile, and he needs to stop all the barking about the guys around his weight class and actually fight these guys in his weight class, and stop talking about the social media following that he has, because his social media following, as we know, when you look at the numbers, it does not translate into the sport of boxing, right? He has 8 million social media following, okay? But then you look at a guy like undefeated, unified WBC, IBF welterweight world champion superstar boxer Earl the True Spence Jr., who only has, he doesn't even have 1 million social media following. He has 950,000 social media followers, and he's done the biggest gate in boxing in 2020 at nearly $3 million at the gate, the live gate. So that means the people are actually coming to the fight, and they're showing support, and they're actually showing up to the fight to watch Errol Spence in person. Okay, so they're supporting Errol Spence physically. When it came to Ryan Garcia and his fight with Luke Campbell, he only did $350,000 as a live gate. So the people didn't translate. They didn't come and show up and support him in person at the fight. So this is what Timothy Bradley is alluding to, that everybody is talking about the amount of social media followers that Ryan Garcia has and how he's branded his name outside of the sport of boxing, and the fact that Ryan Garcia is viewed as a Instagram model. And then Ryan Garcia, he in return, he stated that he wants to do away with that image, okay, with that thought. He says that he's a boxer first, and then social media is his hobby second, right? He builds his profile. So with that said, Ryan Garcia says that he wants to make a statement in the sport of boxing and let everybody know that boxing is his number one objective. So he wants to do away with all the talk that he's just simply a social media superstar, okay? Not a star in the sport of boxing. But when you look at the numbers, they don't translate, okay? With all of those social media followers, they didn't translate to supporting him when it came to the actual boxing match. And this was the biggest fight in his career. So it just didn't translate, okay? So let's listen to what Timothy Bradley had. To say.
She say Manny Pacquiao, of course. Trust me, she's not gonna know who Ryan Garcia is. You know what I'm saying? But if I go ask a little teen girl, 13 years old, she'll know who Ryan Garcia is, because those are the ones that's following him mostly.
So you see, he said if I ask a teen girl or young adults, teenagers, those are the ones that's following him. Those are the ones that are backing him on social media. But they don't translate to the sport of boxing. They translate to what he does and the image that he upholds on social media. They don't actually translate into his actual profession, which is the sport of boxing. And I agree with Timothy Bradley, because the numbers don't lie. When you look at it, we had number one is Errol Spence Jr. Then at number two, you had Saul Canelo Alvarez. And at number three, oddly enough, you had Gervonta Tank Davis, who Ryan Garcia was, pegged to be fighting, okay? Ryan Garcia, he said that he would scream to the mountaintops that anybody would listen, that the next fight he wanted was Gervonta Tank Davis. And then he started to turn his attention to facing Manny Pacquiao. Obviously, to face Manny Pacquiao, you're 22 years old, you grew up looking up to Manny Pacquiao, and now you have an opportunity to grace the square circle and make millions of dollars of doing it. Obviously, that opportunity doesn't come all the time. And the fact that Ryan Garcia is 22 years age, Manny Pacquiao is 42 years age, Manny Pacquiao is 20 years older than Ryan Garcia, but he's a legend, he's an icon within the sport of boxing, and it's a dream come true for Ryan Garcia. So I understand why Ryan Garcia essentially would turn his attention to Manny Pacquiao if Manny Pacquiao showed interest in a fight with Ryan Garcia. But with that said, I do agree with Timothy Bradley that, he's doing a lot of balking and talking about that he could beat Gervonta Tank Davis and knock him out in 2 rounds, and he'll beat Devin Haney, he beat Luke Campbell to become Devin Haney's WBC mandatory challenger, and he would beat Teofimo Lopez. He has Teofimo Lopez, according to Ryan Garcia, as the last guy on the totem pole of the amongst the young crop of upcoming superstars in the sport of boxing. So these are fights that you could definitely can be made within the sport of boxing. And now that Manny Pacquiao has essentially, pulled back from fighting Ryan Garcia after he heard the, all of the criticism, dare I say, for, fighting, even daring to show interest in fighting Ryan Garcia, I feel like Manny Pacquiao and his team decided to pull back. And now Ryan Garcia is talking about fighting Javier Fortuna. Javier Fortuna is the mandatory challenger for Devin Haney. Javier Fortuna has multiple losses on his resume. And this is who, Ryan Garcia, instead of fighting, he's the mandatory now for Devin Haney. Javier Fortuna is the mandatory for Devin Haney. But instead, Ryan Garcia says that he's showing interest in fighting Javier Fortuna over fighting for the world title in Devin Haney. So I think that, Ryan Garcia, he says that he wants to get out of the shadow of his Instagram and his social media following, and that he wants to show the world his number one objective is the sport of boxing. But that's just not what he's showing. He's just not showing interest in truly, asserting himself. He states that he's not even looking to be a world champion. And I understand why he says that. He says that the belts have lost its luster, seeing as though the fact that we have so many belts in the sport of boxing that it's just watering down the sport of boxing. So I understand when he says that. But when you have the opportunity to fight Devin Haney, which is a huge fight, and you fought Luke Campbell to become Devin Haney's mandatory, instead you fight Devin Haney's mandatory and Javier Fortuna. Well, that speaks volumes. That says that you're not confident that you could beat him, and you're not truly looking to make the biggest fights in the sport of boxing. So I agree with Timothy Bradley in that aspect. Let's see how this unfolds and plays out, because Ryan Garcia, he stated that he wasn't happy with the fact that his promoter, former Olympic gold medalist, former 5-division world champion, superstar Hall of Fame boxer turned CEO and promoter of Golden Boy Promotions, Oscar De La Hoya. Oscar De La Hoya said he hadn't spoken to Manny Pacquiao, and he truly has no, according to Oscar De La Hoya, he truly doesn't have any too much interest in trying to reach out. He says that he did reach out, he dared to reach out, but he couldn't get in contact. So he essentially is leaving it alone. Ryan Garcia said that's not professional. He needs to assert himself, because these are the fights that he wants. But even Ryan Garcia's own trainer, Eddie Reynoso, who's turning out to be a legend in the sport of boxing as a trainer, he stated that he don't like the Manny Pacquiao fight because stylistically, Manny Pacquiao's a physically stronger and bigger guy naturally. He has far more experience, and he's very explosive. And Ryan Garcia is still inactive with a lot of flaws on his end. So he has a lot to clean up. So Eddie Reynoso, his trainer, doesn't like the fight. But Ryan Garcia, obviously, he sees the opportunity to fight a legend, and he wants to capitalize on it. So let's see how this unfolds and plays out. But that's all I got for y'all, man. Drop a comment in the comment section. Let me know what y'all think. Y'all already know what it is. It's your boy Blue Blood Sports TV. Hate, like, comment, and subscribe. If you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the bell icon to get all of the new notification. Follow me on Instagram at Blood Sports TV, all one word. Y'all already know what it is. Shout out to the entire LDBC. Shout out to New Media. Shout out to Black Media Row. Make sure you like and share these videos. That's all I got for y'all. Peace.